everybody hear me? No?
Excuse me, close.
Can you hear me now?
Come close.
Okay. Well, just come closer. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yat e she Leona Morgan yinshia toro jini nishlet na bisni bashichi kiani dashiche togli dashinella. I'm just acknowledging my ancestors and my heritage. I'm from actually New Mexico, and I came in from Albuquerque yesterday to be here, and I work mostly on uranium mining issues on the Navajo Nation. There's about 520 abandoned uranium mine sites on Navajo Nation. There's about 2,000 abandoned uranium sites in the Black Hills on indigenous lands, and in all over on indigenous lands in Alaska, Africa, India, and all over the world. And so, as indigenous people, you know, we look at this as a very serious thing when it comes to contaminating our sacred elements. On Navajo Nation, there's a law called a fundamental law, which is basically the codification of our traditional laws. And one of them is that as Diné people, we are obligated on this earth to protect the four sacred elements, which is the air, the land, the water, and fire. And so I just learned something new recently about one of the words people use for uranium, because there's a lot of there's a lack of language translation when it comes to radioactive contamination and you know, half-lives. You know, there's no words for these in our indigenous languages. But something that was really interesting is that we're always talking about protecting the water, protecting the land, protecting the air quality from radon emissions and anything like that. But somebody said that a long time ago they used to call uranium fire, you know, because it's energy, it's radioactive. And so I guess I learned something new, that what we're actually doing when we're saying no uranium mining and leave it in the ground is we're also protecting that fire. And so us as Diné people, we know from experience that there's a lot of health effects from mining uranium. And so myself, I'm working with Tommy, Andrew, and Janine, and some other young folks, communicating with Clee, and just a lot of different people on how do we educate our young people about the issues of uranium mining. But something I learned in my nation, our leaders, they're talking to uranium companies. And so we have a law against uranium mining that started in 2005. And that law is called the Diné Natural Resources Protection Act. So there's no uranium mining on Navajo since 2005. But some of our leaders are working with uranium companies and talking to uranium company lobbyists and big energy companies. And so the governor of New Mexico is working with the BIA to expedite land leases for big energy companies on the New Mexico side. So all the governments are pretty much working against us to push for new energy development through nuclear and fracking. So the big thing now happening on my side in New Mexico, on the Mexico side of Navajo, is hydraulic fracturing. But the main thing that concerns us is that people don't even know what these things are. So you have these big trucks coming in, running grandmas and grandpas off the road, and they don't even know what the big trucks are doing. They don't even know what the chemicals are that are going into the earth. And it's the same thing for the uranium. There's a lot of contamination and toxic things that come out from uranium mining. So Tommy might talk more about that, because it's not just uranium. They use other chemicals. There's other things that come out of the earth that are harmful to our health. And so being at the front end of the nuclear fuel chain, we work very hard to ensure that our tribe will no longer condone, will no longer allow any uranium mining. And so we say no more uranium mining. Myself, I went to Japan last summer, and I met up with a lot of folks over there who are just concerned, but they're at the other end of the nuclear fuel chain. So at the front end of the nuclear fuel chain, we're working as hard as we can. We know there's people working on processing. We know there's people working on and all these things. So I think the most important thing is all of us to be working together. Even though it's a small group, we have people representing different communities. And I'm going to read the demands from the Japanese residents. The Japanese residents in New York, they're sending a letter to Prime Minister Abe. And so these are their demands. And so myself going over there to visit them, they invited me in solidarity with the effects our people suffer from radiation exposure, the same as the Hibakusha in Japan. All those effects and the health concerns, they're the same. The water, the land, the future generations. It's not about money or power, it's about the future of our people as a human race, not just indigenous people or Japanese folks. So these are the demands they're sending to the Prime Minister. Number one is permanent shutdown of all reactors and withdraw any approval of new nuclear reactors. So over there, their Prime Minister kind of won saying, you know, that he's going to keep the reactors shut down, and then changed his mind, and now they're still trying to fight this nuclear industry. Second, their demand is that they don't want TEPCO or the IAEA to be in charge of the decommissioning and decontamination of the Fukushima Daiichi reactors. They want a third independent body to go in there to do all the studying and testing, and then to make sure that they do a good job. Third, no exporting of nuclear technologies. They're saying it's a faulty technology. Why are we trying to sell it to India? Why are we trying to make money off of something we know is dangerous and will cause more harm to human lives? Number four, transparency and decontamination efforts. I don't know how many of you guys have heard the reality of the radiation levels at Fukushima, but the government is completely lying to their people.